Yes.
I mean, what a wonderful body of work, 20 years of experience, over 20 years of experience in helping people transform their lives.
Yeah, it's crazy to listen to you list off all that stuff. It's a little embarrassing, actually.
You was like, I did that. He was like,
you,
oh.
you don't think about it, but you hear it all read off
You're like, oh.
with your amazing radio voice, and I'm like, wow, I've done some stuff.
Yeah, you've done some major things, but it has not come without a set of hurdles and challenges.
I think it's come because of the hurdles and challenges, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Many hurdles. I mean, growing up, you tell the story in your book. You said you had these very fond memories of being bathed very lovingly by your father.
Yeah.
And then spanked because you dropped the bowl of cereal because you couldn't hold it like him at 2 years old.
Yeah.
And they were in very close proximity to one another.
True.
And that taught you a lot.
Yeah, like it's funny. One of my fondest, earliest memories is I remember my dad holding me in his arms, looking in a mirror, and I'm naked and I'm, I don't know, 2 years old, and he's drying me off, and we're looking in the mirror, and he's telling me how much he loves me, and I don't know why I remember that, but I remember that, and it's one of my fondest memories. And then I also remember what you were saying is the first time I remember being struck by my dad. We had a pool table in our living room. It was kind of like our dining room table. To this day, I have no idea where we got a pool table, how we had a pool table, but we had a pool table. And I remember sitting at the pool table, eating cereal. My dad sat next to me, and he turned around to look at the television, holding his bowl of cereal in his left hand. And, just like a young kid, I wanted to be like my dad. So I took the bowl of cereal in my hand, and my hand is not big enough or sturdy enough to hold it. And when I went to put the spoon in, it fell and dropped all over the floor. And when I turned around, he hit me. And unfortunately, that was the beginning of a lot of escapades of having to deal with that sort of thing.
Yeah. You talk about how it really shaped your ideas of lies and fear and anxiety for most of your childhood that really took you into your, young adult life to college.
Yeah, like I grew up dealing with a lot of fear in my home, and the way I try to explain it to people, when you live in a house with someone who's so angry and they do their anger like that on you.
Yeah.
People think it's only bad in the instances where you're being attacked. But that's actually not true. The fear is there and the anxiety is there consistently. And I'll give you it's an example I always give people. If we were in a closed room, like if we're in this room right now and I close the door and I throw the world's most venomous snake in that room, it's not just when the snake is biting you that you have problems.
Yeah.
You stay in that room and you're consistently afraid. Where is that snake? What's the snake's mood? Is the snake close to me? So that's how it felt. Like my entire childhood was riddled with fear and anxiety, eventually depression, eventually suicidal thoughts. And one of the ways that I learned to cope with it is you're so ashamed and embarrassed, and you look around your neighborhood and everybody seems to have this perfect life, and people are like, man, what'd you do last night? And you can't I got my ass kicked. Like my dad was tuning me up last night because I didn't do the dishes properly. So you just like, oh, everything is fine. You just learn to be, oh, last night was great. We sat around the TV watching, whatever movie. And you don't live your authentic self because you're just too afraid to be judged, and you're too afraid to tell people what's really going on.
Yeah. You had this moment in college, though, which was really, when I read it in the book, you said that you had these suicidal thoughts, but you didn't want to die, and people thought you died of sadness or depression.
Yeah.
Because really it was hopelessness.
Man, you said in this thing we're going to have like deep conversations. You said it in the intro, so we're going to go deep. We're going to have I'm not going to sugarcoat or be superficial at all. But there was a moment in my life where I feel like God changed me. I genuinely believe it was an act of God. I think it was a divine moment. I genuinely believe God reached his hand into my life and not just saved me, but changed me.
What was that moment?
So I wasn't just thinking about ending my life. Like I had decided to do it. Like,
Yeah.
and I knew like this weekend, I knew, like I was gone. I was done, and I knew it. I wasn't thinking about it anymore. I was done. And I was in college at the time. I was 19, roughly, and I go back to my dorm room, and I knew this upcoming weekend I was going to take my life. I knew exactly how I was going to do it. I don't want to say because I don't want to give anybody ideas,
Yeah.
but I knew
Yeah.
exactly how I was going to do it. I knew when I was going to do it. And I go back to my dorm room, and I lay down to take a nap. And I remember waking up from that nap, and it's going to sound crazy, unless anybody's ever been in this space. What I'm about to say is going to sound crazy, but I had a tremendous sense of relief because I knew like the pain was going to be over.
Yeah.
So I was just so calm for the first time maybe ever. And I'm laying in the dorm room, laying in my bed, and I've got this just amazing sense of calm and peace because I know I'm going to end my life, so I don't have to worry about any pain. I don't have to worry about anything. And then I started thinking about my eulogy. I started thinking, like, what would people say at my funeral that was soon, going to be happening soon? And I thought about all my closest friends going up to the podium at the front of whatever church.
Yeah.
And I thought about them talking about me. I thought about them saying, like, we didn't know Elliott was so sad, or we wish Elliott had told us he was struggling, or we didn't know Elliott was so depressed. And I remember feeling like that's unacceptable. Like I wanted them to talk about my dad. I wanted them to say, we didn't know Elliott's father was this much of a tormentor. We didn't know Elliott's father was this much of an asshole. Like we didn't know Elliott's father was creating this much pain. And I remember laying there thinking, like, I can't die if everybody's going to tell this lie.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, like, I have to live long enough in order to tell my truth. And I didn't know it at the time, but in that moment was the decision to live. I literally thought, like, I mean, I can still end my life, but I'll have to do it after people know the truth. So I've got to live long enough to be able to tell my story in a way
Yeah.
that people could understand. And it changed me. That completely rerouted my life, and I'm 100% convinced, no one can tell me any different, that God was kind of
Yeah.
talking to me.
Yeah. Intervening in your affairs. I mean,
More than intervening, like intervening would imply, and I want to be really clear about this, intervening would imply that I was on the path to death and God like intervened in my death.
stepped in. Yeah.
That's not what it was. I think more than that, it was like God had a purpose for me. And in order to fulfill that purpose, I had to have pain. Like I had to have struggle. And that day was when, like, okay, you have this. Now I'm going to put you in line for the purpose. So when I say like God transformed my life, like he changed me in a fundamental, foundational way. In that moment, I had pain up until that moment. And after that moment, I had purpose.
Ooh, that's so good. If that blessed you, trust me, you've only scratched the surface. There's so much more wisdom, truth, and transformation waiting in the full conversation. Click the link in the caption below to watch the entire interview, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss an episode of Vault Empowers Talks. You end up having a conversation with your father.
Yes.
And you said in this conversation, you needed to set some boundaries.
Yes.
And you laid out 3 rules for him.
Yes.
I want you to talk about those rules that you laid out.
So I knew my mom. I got to tell you about my mom, man. My mom. There's a level of strength that I think women carry. I think men and women carry strength in different ways, but there's a level of strength that women specifically carry, and it's the kind of strength, and in particular, Black women. It's the kind of strength that's, I don't know, it's something I even have a hard time articulating, but my mother embodies this strength, and I'm struggling to articulate. The kind of strength that, like, carries a family. The kind of strength that, like, loves you through whatever it is you're going through. And there were multiple times through this journey I would say to my mom, like, I can't talk to my dad. Like, can I please just not talk with the guy, not deal with him? Like, they divorced, and she would send me to him during the weekend. I'm like, me and my brother, like, I don't want to go. And she'd be like, you have to honor thy father. You have to go. So now I'm at this moment, and I said to my mom, like, I can't do it anymore. And I'll never forget, I told my mother that. I said, Mom, I can't do it anymore. I cannot live with this man in my life in the way he is. I need to, like, do something about this. So I don't want to talk to him anymore. And I'll never forget, she never said yes or no. She literally just closed her eyes and she went. And I knew that was her endorsement of me being able to finally stand up to my father. So I called him. He was in Texas at the time where I was living. And he was visiting me and my brothers, and we had just gone to see a movie. A huge fight happened, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. The first thing I ever did to stand up to my dad, ever, I drove that night. I had a 1984 Volvo.
Ooh.
It was a terrible tank of
That was
car.
a whip, y'all. That was a whip.
It was I bought that thing for like $800. It was my college car, but it was mine.
Yeah.
Like, it was it was the first thing I'd ever bought of any meaningfulness. And we had this fight in the parking lot of a movie theater, and I broke up the fight. It was between my older brother and my dad, and I broke it up. And we get in the car, and my father slams my car door. And I looked at him, and I said, I need you to get out of the car and get back in the car as if you respect me. And he looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, man, I'm not joking. I'm not starting this car. I'm not moving this car an inch until you get out of this car and get back into the car with some respect. And he got out of my car and walked about 5 miles to his hotel.
Wow.
And I remember sitting in that car thinking, like, man, this dude would rather walk
Yeah.
in Texas heat
Yeah.
than respect his child.
Yeah.
So I went back to my house, and he was staying in this hotel, and I called him, and I said, look, man, I need to live a life without violence. I need to live a life where I can heal, grow, figure myself out. After I had that moment in the college dorm room, I switched my major from marine biology to psychology.
To psychology, yeah.
And I was like, I just need to figure out who I am and who I want to be and who I'm becoming. I can't have this. So I need you to follow 3 rules. If you can follow these 3 rules, I'll get through. I can deal with everything else. You make these 3 commitments to me, I'll deal with everything else, I promise. The first thing is you can't yell at me, you cannot hit me, and you cannot call me names. If you can follow those 3 rules,
Yeah.
I'm going to be good. I'm going to figure it out. His exact response, he said, fuck you. It's okay, you just broke one of the rules.
Yeah.
So I hung up the phone, and those of you old enough to remember, there used to be these things called answering machines. So I knew he wasn't at home, obviously, because he was in Texas. So I called his home number, and I left a voicemail on his answering machine. And I said, so we just had this interaction. I need you to know I am not going to speak to you until you confirm that you can follow these 3 rules. And I'm not playing. We will not interact until you can follow these 3 rules. I often tell people that was the first time I ever loved myself. That was the first act of self-love. It's like when you love yourself, you protect yourself.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I ever said to somebody, like, you can't do this. And so I left on his voicemail, he called my younger brother and he said, tell Elliott that I got his voicemail and I will honor his wishes. And we haven't spoken
Since.
yeah.
And how many years ago was that?
About 30.
You haven't spoken to your father in 30. Is he still living?
He's still alive, yeah, he's still alive. I've seen him recently, actually.
Okay, and how has that shifted you all's relationship?
No, because I still have those same rules, and he still has not followed them.
Wow.
Yeah, he still hasn't followed them.
Even after all this time, there hasn't been this growth and evolution in him as he gets older and saying, okay, well, there's so much time and I don't have that much time left. That's not the case.
No, it's not the case. So I've seen him over that 25 to 30 year journey. He was at my younger brother's college graduation, so I would see him, and it was wonderful to see him actually because it would demonstrate my healing. That the first year of not talking to him was the hardest year of my life.
Yeah.
Without question. Which is odd because the years prior to that, I was literally physically having to deal with him. But the first year of not talking to him was the hardest year of my life ever. And one of the reasons it made it so hard is he would do things that would be like super manipulatively triggering. Like, for example, we don't come from a family of a lot of money. And I remember the Christmas after. So this is the first Christmas I'm not talking to my dad, which is psychologically challenging in and of itself. And I remember my younger brother, my father mailed something. He lived in Massachusetts at the time, and we were living in Texas, and he mailed Christmas gifts. And my younger brother opens it, and he's like, oh my gosh. And in this letter was a check for $500. And he's like, Elliott, you got a check, you got an envelope too. And I'm like, I can't take that.
So your father sent you a check for $500.
Yeah, he sent me a check for $500.
And you never cashed it.
I've sent it back.
I love that for you. I'd have been
back.
like, run me my
No, because he was trying to purchase his way through my boundaries.
Yeah.
And I knew, like, broke, poor, challenging. I knew
you had to.
If I cashed this check, he has successfully purchased his way around me.
Oof.
And I couldn't do it. So I packed it back and sent it back to him. So it was really hardest year of my life because stuff like that was happening.
Yeah.
So I'm psychologically dealing with the loss of this person. And I tell people all the time, like, the hardest kind of grief is when you're grieving someone who's still alive. Like that is a next level grief. And it was so hard. And then over the years I would see him and I would realize, like, oh, I'm not triggered. Like, there he is at my brother's graduation and I'm good. I don't have any fear or anxiety anymore.
And how long did it take for you to get that?
I don't know.
That way?
I don't know. But I recognized it probably about 5-6 years into this journey. But recently, so now my brother has children. I'm a very proud uncle. And my dad has moved to Texas because he wants to be around my brother and his kids. And which is still sort of messed up, right? Because now I got to ask myself, you were willing to go almost 30 years without talking to me.
Wow.
Even if you think you have a justified position, what parent would go that long without talking to their child, even if you have a justified position? And now I have to watch you literally change your life to be around my brother and his children. It's psychologically weird. So I remember seeing him at my niece's basketball game, and I'm fine.
So you've had multiple interactions over these 30 years.
Yeah, I've had a few, but this recent one was so weird because he walked up to me and he gave me a hug and he said, "It's nice to see you, son." And I remember, like, in my head, I was like, "Don't call me that."
Oof.
Like, you don't have that.
You don't have that right.
You don't have that right.
You haven't been a father.
You forfeited.
Yeah.
I've been through a lot in this 25, 30 years since we talked. You forfeited that title.
If that blessed you, trust me, you've only scratched the surface. There's so much more wisdom, truth, and transformation waiting in the full conversation. Click the link in the caption below to watch the entire interview. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss an episode of Vault Empowers Talks.